Hello, one and all. Tony East here from Forbes and Locked On Pacers. Finally, at the buzzer, getting a video up on this channel for Game 3 of Knicks Pacers. Game 4 is in 4.5 hours. The fever, the Pacers, holidays. My life is kicking my butt. I'm so sorry to be getting to all this so slow. Anyway, Game 3, a mess. The Pacers' first loss in the series. No home team has won yet. Very reminiscent of Cavs-Pacers so far. There's a key difference coming that I will talk about later in the video, but this is how every Pacers series has revealed itself to this point. Win, win, loss. Game 4 becomes huge. They won both so far. They eviscerated the Cavs. They handled the Bucks. Can they do the same to the Knicks? Adjustments will be key because Game 3, Pacers lose. It was their closest Game 3, losing by just 6 points at 106-100. But a lot concerning after they built a 20-point first-half lead. 55-35, halftime's coming up. Chance for the Pacers to feel great. The field house is exploding. Alex Pillow is shown. And then the Knicks go on a little bit of a run going into halftime. I think it was a 15 or 13-point game at the break. It stayed about that point until late in the third quarter when the Knicks went on one more little run. Deuce McBride, 7 quick points. Bada bing, bada boom. It's a 10-point game. Going into the fourth, the Karl Towns show happens, which we'll talk about in a second. Bada bing, bada boom, the Knicks are winning. The Pacers get the lead back for one possession. Knicks get it right back and hold it the rest of the way. A blown 20-point lead. So there's two ways you could look at this game, and I will accept both interpretations from fans, but I think that it's important for the Pacers to accept the one where they got in their own way. One interpretation is they were playing good enough to be up 20 and can do that again. It's not like they shot it well at all. They were 5 for 25 from deep in this game, concerningly bad shooting and volume. And they were still up 20. They couldn't play like themselves for much of the second half. They were too slow. They acknowledged that post-game. The passing volume and accuracy and effectiveness was not there. Their defense against Cat to start the fourth quarter, terrible. Right? A lot had to go badly. And they would tell you that it's on them. It's not necessarily something the Knicks changed. It could be. They have said it's on them. In some ways, I'm inclined to agree. In some ways, I'm not. Regardless, dominance from the Knicks after it was 55-35, 71-45 the rest of the way. So if you want to interpret it as the Pacers' worst half of the series after 4 or 5 good to great ones, I understand that. I also understand thinking that the Knicks, who changed their starting lineup for that game, had a different rotational pattern, played different guys off the bench and had some defensive successes, cleaned up their own turnovers. If they actually had some solutions going for them in a meaningful way, which is one key difference between this and past series for the Pacers after Game 3, is like there was one huge thing in Bucks-Pacers that shifted Game 3. The Bucks switched way more. The Pacers were so bogged down, they looked like they needed to make changes. In Game 3 of Pacers-Cavs, holy cow, a 3-2 zone. What is going on? How do they fix this, right? There isn't really a big thing going on in Pacers-Knicks. That is one key difference in the series to this point that has struck me about the Pacers struggling in Game 3 is they kind of just were having trouble with a lot of little things, right? The Knicks slowed the game down. Their defense was better with like Dalen Wright and Landry Shamet out there. OG Anunoby guarded less people. Mitchell Robinson provided some size. Cat's playing the 4. All these little things that like aren't individually so much different or challenging did all end up tipping the scales toward the New York Knicks for a significant portion of the game. Again, I understand and I do believe in many ways that the Pacers' struggles were their own doing in a lot of the second half, not necessarily any of those Knicks changes, but those are hurdles. The Knicks probably would argue they didn't play very well either. So the Pacers shot bad. Offensively, they would like get to a matchup they wanted and then do another screen and get out of it or flow to the other side of the court and not abuse it. You know, though I've heard it phrased very well, and I said this on Locked On Pacers, mismatch hunting is a function of how the Pacers play. They get a mismatch they like, and they use it as a key part of their action, their attack, whatever, not just what they do. When it is the only weapon they're using and they're just throwing it to somebody with somebody they don't like on them, they're not as good. And it's striking that balance that makes them their absolute best. They did not do that very well at all in Game 3, getting out of those matchups, not using them to their advantage, just structurally poor offensive process. The Karl Towns explosion to start the fourth quarter, I mean, he's just an amazing player. Yeah, he just flicks his wrists and makes threes. Those ones, I honestly think you live with as the Pacers a little bit. He's an awesome shooter. That might just happen. 20 points in a quarter is going to be super rare for anyone the rest of this postseason. Not Towns, not the Knicks, like anyone. It's when he posts up and Brunson's not on the floor and he's in a heater, they don't double him. Tony Bradley tries to guard him on a drive. It goes terrible. Right? There's a lot of stuff they could have done better defending him too, and he had some nice passes. I think he had scored or assisted on 22 of the first 24 for the Knicks in the fourth. That was tough for the Pacers. They couldn't get steals to get into the open floor in the fourth quarter after doing so in the third. Tyrese Halliburton and lots of players, but Halliburton's always the face of this, not willing to shoot, not getting deep enough into the paint. A lot of stuff that I think they'll feel like, we could do that, like given the circumstances that were presented to us as the Pacers. And yet the Knicks probably feel like they didn't play that great either. They only scored 106 points, and it took a heater to even do that. Brunson had foul trouble. Cat had foul trouble. A lot could change for them to be better as well. So how the adjustments look in Game 4 will be revealing. Can the Pacers get their pace back? Can they slow down Towns in a meaningful way, especially in those Brunsonless lineups? Are they able to fight through a slower game and still be good? I thought that was noteworthy in Game 1, that for much of the first half, the Knicks would play slow and the Pacers would play fast at the same time on their offensive sets, and both teams were comfortable with that. That wasn't the case in Game 3. The Pacers have to solve something. No home team has won a game yet in this series. That doesn't mean that it won't happen. In fact, it likely will happen at some point. The Pacers need it to be them. Going up 3-1 would be huge. Going back to the Garden. So that is one key difference, is there's not one huge thing the Pacers need to solve heading into Game 4 like there was in past series. The other difference is key injury in Game 3. Aaron Nesmith goes down rolling his right ankle badly. He did return to the game. He's listed questionable for Game 4. Rick Carlisle said he's probably going to be a game-time decision. He's a huge player. Awesome shooter in the series. Makes good decisions. Is a better finisher inside the arc. Just a really good player. This whole series, this whole playoffs. Without him, the Pacers would have to change their function and ability in a way that they have it throughout the rest of the playoffs. They've been healthy to this point largely. So that's a huge difference. The other part of this Nesmith injury, though, is that he is guarding the Knicks' best player in Jalen Brunson. And so losing him is not just losing a good role player. I mean, it is losing a good role player, but it's also losing your best defensive weapon against the Knicks' best player and a good play finisher. So if he doesn't play, this becomes a drastically different challenge for the Pacers to solve. They have to figure out different matchups. They have to play a different way. The rotation will look different. And if he does play, he certainly won't be 100% because he had a bad ankle sprain 2 days ago. So that's a huge thing to watch in Game 4. The Pacers probably feel like the sky is falling a little bit. That's not to say that they're like panicking. I just think that's how the playoffs go. You lose the most recent game, it feels like you'll never win again. You win the most recent game, it feels like you're on top of the world. They can settle in with a win tonight. They have some problems to solve. The Knicks are good. The Pacers are good. It's 2-1 Pacers. No need for them to panic, but certainly the momentum of the series suggests that they should want a big game tonight. I'll have a video after that one. Hopefully not 2 days later this time, as I get back on a good workflow. Thank you all so much for watching this one. A lot of Fever coverage and Pacers coverage on this channel if you want more. Thanks for watching. See you soon.